Oh,
We are
there you
live.
go. We're live now with no countdown.
We had a countdown.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
there
know,
was a
but we
countdown.
weren't live.
Didn't go, eh?
Hey, I thought I was the one that only screwed up.
We had a countdown, but nobody else saw it. What the hell?
Yeah, I thought I was the one that only screwed up. Uh-oh.
Somebody echoing. We had a countdown, but nobody else saw it. What the hell?
Not me. I'm okay.
Somebody has got.
Rich, have you got your YouTube playing?
Oh, hold on now.
Mute.
Yep. Here we go.
All right. So anybody that's wondering why it's on my YouTube channel tonight instead of Kevin, it's because Kevin wasn't feeling himself today.
Yeah, he's kind of feeling a separation anxiety, you know.
I'm feeling.
He's feeling bodiless.
I'm kind of hit the wall.
So moving along, we want to welcome Rich Grant from Have Moto Will Travel.
Good evening, guys. Good evening, folks.
Reason that we invited Rich was, well, we invited quite a few people, but Kevin has left the building.
Yeah.
So Kevin's got connection troubles. We figured that's what was going to happen, that it might not be able to keep it on for the whole show. So that's why we're using mine. So the reason that we had Rich come on was because if anybody's watched his channel and his 10,000 Mile Miracle series that he's been doing, most of it was done during bad weather of some type. So I thought, what more fitting than to have Rich come on and talk about how he made it through what he was doing. So saying all that, it's bad weather rides, whatever it is, and we can go over the list. I have a list. So rain, wind, fog, cold, and hot.
How about snow?
Well, you're just nuts if you're doing that. Unless you're stranded somewhere and have to ride in it, I wouldn't advise doing it. But
yeah.
So you guys are watching the chat for me and highlight anything that I need to know.
Okay.
So we'll look through the sidebar here and see who we've got. We've got Angel Face Moto Rider, Peach Trek.
Pedo Trek. I think that's how you pronounce it.
P.O. Trek. Okay. Welcome. Old guy on a bike, Jim. How you doing? Nice to hear from you again. Who else is here? Spider Wayne. I like the name.
Yeah. Purple on 3 is here.
Purple on 3. Hi.
Purple on 3. Welcome again.
What's Purple on 3's first name again? I'm terrible for names. Now I'm going to throw you guys under the bus to try and remember.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever known it, honestly.
Yeah. Quickly put your name on there because we're all old and forgetful.
And her husband,
Ron, Hannah,
Tommy G, is there?
Good to see you. Anybody else quickly? PSP Tommy G. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Oh, Snowbird Biker, welcome.
Cal.
Old
Cal
guy
is here.
Did him.
And Craig is in. Shushmoto. I just finished doing the challenge for. Craig's channel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's given away.
Hang on, let me
finish off.
No, just give me a second.
What's the problem when you're hosting? You can't type and talk at the same time.
Well, there's issues, terrible issues. No, that's not it. I want to invite him on.
Who's that?
Craig.
Oh, just throw the link up again.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do. But we've got keyboard problems for some reason. Nothing's working properly tonight for some reason. Craig, I just put the link up in the side chat. If you want to jump on that, if you're interested, just hit the link and come on over. Because if we're going to talk about bad weather, we should be talking to you. So, all right.
Buffalo's nothing but bad weather, isn't it? Especially this time
He's
of year.
in. It's Craig from Schmodo.
Oh,
Travel.
from Schmodo.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's BC, Vancouver area. So, all right. So, moving along.
I got to tell you, I watch a gentleman named Robert Mers. I don't know if you guys know him. He's from British Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
He has a moto.
Hey, there's Craig.
Hey, Craig, how you doing?
Is my mic working?
Yeah.
No, can't hear a thing.
Yeah, you're good.
I'm trying.
You're
No, you're good.
Okay.
Are you on your computer or your wife's computer?
Well, it's my computer, but we had it repaired.
Okay.
Okay, Rich. So you were saying?
Yeah, I was just saying that Robert Mers, who's from British Columbia, just did a video on his channel. It's I think he calls it Dry Rock Studios, and he's been around for a long time. I watched all his videos when I couldn't ride, and he did a video the other day of the roads we lost. I was shocked. He had what was it, the route? Is it Route 1 and Route 8? They're gone. Out there in British Columbia, you had like 10 inches of rain in 24 hours. Those roads are gone. And from what I could see, there's going to be a lot of people out that way stranded.
There's a number of highways that are like that out here. It's not just one highway. There's a number of highways that are completely gone.
Really?
Yeah.
And you know, looking at those highways, there's no fast way to rebuild those.
No, the Coquihalla Highway is the major thoroughfare between us and Alberta.
That's the
And
highway
bridges-
to hell that's on the
Yeah,
TV
the 4-lane
show.
highway bridges collapsed. So they got to rebuild bridges to get that highway open again.
That's the highway to hell highway, right? From
That's
the
the-
TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
a major. They don't let that thing down for nothing.
Yeah. After the storm that happened, and that was November 15th,
Yeah.
every single road from Vancouver to the rest of Canada was broken. Like it was either collapsed or washed away. And the two rail lines, CP and CN, were dismantled also. So effectively, we were cut off from Canada with the exception of air for flights.
Well, I did. I watched that video and I was amazed because I don't know what the name of the river that runs right next to Route 1 there. I think it is the Trans-Canada Highway. Is that it?
Yeah, the Fraser River.
Yeah, okay. That river completely washed out not only the road but the rails. It was gone. You couldn't even get a train through there anymore. It's just gone.
And
The whole railroad track was underwater, under the river.
Yeah. And the power of the water, you know those concrete Lego bricks that they do for highway retention?
Mhm.
Yep.
They were floating down the river, concrete Lego blocks.
Wow.
Cement does float.
Oh, yeah.
Believe it or not. People make cement boats, actually.
Yeah.
Try and learn. Welcome.
So that was the first atmospheric river storm that came through. And we're in the middle of our second storm. So our out of this atmospheric river that's happening right now, the third storm should be happening tomorrow. We've gone through two, and we got one more tomorrow coming.
Yeah.
Wow. So, Craig, it's almost like Mother Nature is retaking all of the low spots in southern British Columbia.
Yeah, it's actually, you can't fight Mother Nature, but a very surprising thing to me was I did a video a year ago about the Sumas Valley, and that's the area that's in the news with all the flooding. And I did a video a year ago about what happened to Sumas Lake, and I did some research on it a year ago. And just last week, it surprised me because I started getting comments on my email. So I started looking at it, and that video just took off because people started trying to research why that area is flooding so bad.
Wow.
Well, there used to be a lake there, and they drained the lake to make farmland. And it was never an intention to make this video for this purpose, but people started looking up the history, and there's very few videos out there on that.
Craig, can you turn your mic up a little bit? You're a little soft. You might have to go into the cam mic settings down below. But anyway, just back to Purple on 3, Jody. Our apologies. We should know that right off. So
yeah, I'll have to look it up here. Microphone.
Okay. So moving along. Let's start out with riding in the rain. So, we'll start with Rich, I guess. Rich, any special equipment, any tips, pointers, anything about riding in the rain? Go.
Stay dry.
Yeah.
You got to have good rain gear, guys. I've got my regular riding gear is waterproof, but you got to have extra rain gear because once you get soaked, well, I don't have to tell anybody here. Hypothermia is a real possibility, and I mean that's my. The other thing is, I don't know if any of you guys use a pin lock system on your helmets.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. I never had one, but now that I have had one, I'll never be without one.
Right.
So if you haven't tried a pin lock system, because that's one of the, I think everybody can attest to that. One of the biggest problems when you're riding in the rain is your face shield fogs up. If you're wearing a face shield, and if you don't have a face shield, I don't know. I don't know how people ride without a face shield in the rain. I see a lot of guys do it, but your face gets pelted with rain. It hurts.
That's why we have beards and goatees, right? To soften the blow.
Doesn't help me. That's why I wear a full face helmet.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I don't know if anybody. I think I've said this before, but I have a tough time getting boots that fit me. I've got a really wide foot, and so I have to wear regular boots, and they're not waterproof. I've bought over boots. I don't know if anybody else has thought about doing that, but I've had to use them from time to time, and they really come in handy. And the ones that I have, my whole boot fits inside the boot. It has a sole, and it's got some grip. I know some of the other ones don't. They just kind of fit over your boot. But when it gets really, really bad, and I've been in some really bad stuff, really a valuable piece of equipment if you don't have waterproof boots. And they're not expensive. They're inexpensive enough to buy. Everybody should have one in their trunk.
My issue is, the only thing that I do have an issue with as far as rain gear is the gloves. And as long as it's warm weather, I put the gloves away and I just run barehanded. And that's okay until you slip on the water and fall down and you got to put your hand out to protect yourself. It's going to be a problem. But my equipment, as far as rain gear goes, I use, if I can bring this up, get this going here. This jacket by H&H It's just one of their workwear ones. All the lettering and the stripes on it are all reflective. There's not a lot, but it's a little bit. That coat has been through monsoons, and I have stayed completely dry. And I paid $22 at Winners for that coat. And I swear that there's no water gets in. Just the top of my t-shirt was a little damp, and that was it. And I gotta get out of here now. It was like the best thing I ever bought as far as rain gear ever going. And the other thing I bought was just a pair of Viking overpants, and they're the exact same material as that coat, and that's why I bought them. I think I paid $15. It was like a clearance at the end of the season in the fall at Winners, and I just walked in and yeah, okay, I tried them on. Yeah, good. And that's the stuff that you see in all my videos when it's, when I went and saw Kevin and we went to Kincardine. I was wearing all that gear that day. We've gone on that northern ride and I had that stuff and we got caught on the way home in like a absolute monsoon, like get out the ark. It's time we're going, and just this here was damp. It wasn't even really wet. And hands down the best stuff I ever had, and I didn't pay dirt for it. So really pleased with it. Dave, what do you got?
I've had a number of different rain suits. I started off with the Froggers, originally way back, and the things with those, they're not bad until they hit your exhaust pipe, and then they just melt, they disintegrate.
Yeah.
So since then I've bought a good pair of rain gear. The couple of things that I do extra, I got a pair of those pullover boots for.
Yeah, it's not me. You got real bad static, Dave.
Me? I think so.
I don't know what it is.
Just a second off.
No, it's not you.
It's raining outside. That's why. We're getting.
I'm just wondering. I'm going to mute my mic and see if it's it.
Maybe Craig. He's the last one to mute.
Mute your mic. Yeah.
There it is.
It's you.
It's because he's underwater.
I turned my mic off. Did that create some static?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Maybe that's why it's so weak in sound. Maybe there's something going wrong with it.
Yeah.
Mute it, Craig, and then
turn the mic down. Is that better?
Maybe just mute until you talk.
Yeah.
There we go. So
okay.
A couple of things I'd suggest in this is I've got a pair of they're allegedly waterproof gloves, but the problem is once you wear them for a while, your hand starts to sweat on the inside, which is no good. So I've got a pair of nitrate gloves, the auto mechanic gloves or rubber gloves, plastic gloves, just to put on underneath that, and that's kind of taken the dampness out from inside the glove. The other thing is, I thought because I have a shorty helmet with just the drop down lens for me. So I get wet in here and I get wet in the chin, which ends up running down the front of my rain gear. So I've got a tube that I, put over this section here and down. So when it gets wet, but I don't get the water dripping down the front. Right. But the other thing is I wear layers so that, if I get too hot or too cold, I can add or remove from that. And believe it or not, on the heavy days, and Rich, maybe if you've been in bad weather or all of us, every now and then I stand up and or lift myself off the seat of my bike just to get rid of the puddle that's forming between my legs and the gas tank. I don't know if you guys have had that happen, but
yes, and at the time I was using the frog, and that's the only place there was a hole. Where the pond was, that's where the hole was in the frogs.
Yeah. I've looked down there. I've had some puddles where you'd think goldfish would be swimming around it. They've been so big, right? So
yeah, it happens.
Yeah, and I've those times I didn't have the frogger. I had my new rain gear, and the other thing is just I've got some really bright fluorescent bars on the back and front of my rain suit, which makes me, a lot more visible. Because let's face it, when the light turns really flat, when you get heavy rain and people can't, cars, trucks, they can't see you. So, you need something to be able to signify that you're there. Anyway, there's a couple of thoughts there.
Yeah, so they're just showing the pants that I got. They're pretty good. They got so you can open up the pant leg and get your boots on without taking them off. All the pockets are those pockets are wide open into your interior pockets. So if you got your wallet in your pocket, you can get at it, easy access. I think I paid $11 for those things, and they're awesome.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, Craig, what do you do? Oh, you're in the Pan American, so you're standing up the majority of the time anyway.
Well, I still got the road glide, but Pan American's good for this time of year. So what I use is I got the Harley said Ranger that I bought quite a few years ago. And I think the suit that I'm wearing right now is about 4 or maybe 5 years old. And for the first 3 years, I guess it worked really good. And I've worn that suit for hours and days on end. And I think the longest time I had it was from Minneapolis, Minnesota to Minot, North Dakota. I did that ride in one day. And that was heavy rains the whole way. And what I do underneath the Harley suit is I wear my heated gear underneath it. And the heated gear I can adjust the temperature on, which keeps me warm in the rain. And with the heated gloves, my hands actually stay warm even if they get wet. And the heated gloves, they will get wet through it, but it doesn't affect the heat line. So I've done 11-hour days like that, and it's been fine for me. But this year I've been riding in the rain gear quite a bit this year. And it's soaking through. I need the Scotch guard is what I got to do. Because I get wet in about half an hour. And it's just because I probably have the Scotch guard.
Right. So that's my heated gear. It's the hot wired stuff. And yeah, it's good if you're in the rain and it's, it cools down. You got that air whipping by and you got there's water on your clothing. It'll cool it down. You don't realize how much it'll do it. So
and that's the key I find of riding in the rain is keep the heated gear on and just adjust the temperature. And then I'm fine in the rain, even down to 4 or 5 degrees, I'm fine.
Yeah.
So there, I use heated gear.
Yes. Excellent.
Who was that last week? Was it Kevin that was against the heated gear or something? Wasn't it?
Oh, it's Dave.
It's Dave.
Dave,
you don't like heated gear?
I just haven't got around to, maybe I've still got enough meat on my bones that I don't feel the cold as bad, but
Come on, dude, I'm the king of meat on the bones.
that
Come
warm
on.
lake air that you got.
one of these days I'm going to get a piece of heated gear, even if it's, just so that I can join the club.
Okay, here's another topic. Craig, maybe mute that mic again for a bit. Thank you. Tires. Riding in the rain, do you have specific tires that you think are better for that, or just the stock tires? Are you good with that, Rich?
I think honestly, in all my years of riding, I've probably had 2 sets of tires that didn't feel good in the rain. Generally, I'm either riding on Bridgestones or Dunlops, and I know that the Elite Fours that I have on the Goldwing are, well, I told you I rode in snow with those things. I can say the Goldwing handles great in snow with the Dunlop Fours. But even the E3s that I had on the Voyager in 2018, they were rock solid in the rain. I've never really the only tires that I've ever felt a little squirrely in the rain, and this is years ago. I had a set of Continental Connie. What they were big at the time. I forget, Twins were they or something like that. And the other ones were, believe it or not, some Metzler 888s that just didn't feel right in the rain to me.
Yeah.
But other than that, I've always had good luck with Dunlop and what was the other one there? Dunlop and come on. I keep wanting to say Goodyear, but
Bridgestone.
Bridgestone. Thank you very much. It's age, you can't help it.
Well, Bridgestones, they were the ones that came stock on the Goldwings, at least the GL 1800s. I don't know about the 15s and that, but
when I bought the 2007 wing, it had a brand new set of E4s on. I really liked them, but I just recently had to put new tires on, and I went with the stock tires just to see what they were like, and I feel like they turn a little bit quicker than the Dunlops did. The Dunlops were kind of they were seated on the road. I don't know, these Bridgestones feel a little bit more maneuverable. It was a little hard to get used to at first, but now I love them. I really love them. I think I'll probably go with them next time too.
My experience on those tires was it had the stock tires on mine when I first got it, and it slid out on me with Princess on the back. And,
oh, really?
And I went to the E4s and I never went back.
Yeah.
It could have been that the tires were old. Like, I don't know how old they were when I first got the bike. They were somebody else's mess. So doing that, I was quite confident. When I went to Memphis with the Goldwing, I rode half the way there, all down the interstate, and I was flying with those E4s on, and it never. Now, I did end up going with the BT45 rear tire on the front, and that worked better, even so, in handling and everything. So it really reassured me in bad weather, that tire. Now, going back to the Concours, the stock Battle Axe, was it Bridgestone Battle Axe tires? That's what came stock on it. Fear of God on dry road. They were just awful tires on that bike. And other guys say they're fine, but I was pushing it in the corners and it would just stutter and take off. And you'd have to jam on the brakes to get her hauled in before you met the ditch. But I ended up going with the Michelin Road 4s. Road, they were the real high, heavy bike ones that had the heavier carcass to them. And those things, you could pick the back wheel off in the rain with the front brake. It was like if the traction control didn't kick in or the anti-lock didn't kick in, you could have lifted that ass end of that bike right off the ground. They showed it where they did it, and the guy did an emergency stop with it, and the guy walked over with a match and lit it on the road right behind the tire. It sucked all the moisture right off the pavement.
Wow.
The guy was able to light a match right behind the bike. That's what sold me on them, and I rode them all the times I was going up north to see Linda when she was working up there. I'd go up like in the night and come back in the night and be ready for work the next day, and never a lick of trouble with those tires. Now the Harley, I haven't had a lick of problem. I've been out in bad weather with it. The stock tires are fine, and I'll be keeping them like I like them. So, yeah. Dave, what are you rolling on?
Well, well, on my bike, it came with Dunlops, and I rode those into the ground. But then I went with the Metzlers, and I've been happy with the Metzlers ever since. You know, they're great on the highway. I do a lot of highway riding in and around town here. So
Did-
but you want to know something? I think you know, whatever tire we're comfortable with on our bikes, the big test is the road conditions and our level of riding in rain. You know,
I think it's if you've got confidence in those tires, it's, you know,
um
it-
yes and no. Listen, you can have confidence and then override
Hmm.
and put yourself in danger on the roads.
That's true.
I think the key comes back to knowing your bike, riding to the conditions of the road, and also the traffic, right? And your own ability, right? Your comfort level. You know, if you stay calm and you're relaxed and you're just, you know, I don't mind riding in the rain sometimes. It's, you know, it's a different style of riding, and you know, it's sometimes it's you know, I don't want to ride every weekend in the rain, but like, I don't mind it. But you know, staying calm, relaxed while you're riding, proper gear, you know, your tire pressures are correct, your tread's correct on the tires, right? And you know, your lane positioning, all of those things, you know, will put you to a comfortable ride, right? But the minute you go outside of that comfort zone, you're asking for trouble.
right.
And it doesn't matter it doesn't matter what tires you've got, right?
Jim's comment, talking about the painted lines in the rain can be nasty. Now, back in the old days, my dad used to work for the Department of Highways. He worked there since the day I was born till the day he retired. And they used to paint the lines, and the paint had like crushed glass in it. And it gave it grip, and it also made it reflective, so it would shine in the headlights. You don't see that now. You can see where they have brand new paint on the road, and you can't even see it. Like if it's raining, it just seems to glaze over and not reflect,
Yeah.
and slippery. Like your front wheel can stop on a painted line if it's a hot day and it's tacky and it almost turns the paint wet again. Man, you wake up in a hurry when that front wheel stops. It's like tire snakes, same deal. But
Mm-hmm. I think
uh,
it's also important to, you know, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to talk about the hazards maybe later on. Wayne, are we?
yeah, you can do it now if you want. Go ahead.
Well, no, I would just to lead off. I was just going to say, like, when it rains, you know, what do they say? The first 10 to 30 minutes of any rainstorm is the most dangerous when you're riding,
Well, you
because
gotta look
all
for
the
the
oil, the
rainbow on the
grits, and
road.
everything is getting pulled out of the asphalt and being washed away. And
You got to
that's,
watch for that rainbow in the
yeah,
water.
yeah, and that's the oil that's on the road,
Yeah.
right? So anyway, Craig,
Greg,
sorry, I
Greg's
kind of
next. Turn your
took your
mic
5
on, Greg.
minutes.
So for the tires, on the Super Glide, I run Benson's, but that Super Glide's made of sugar, so it doesn't run in the rain. With the Road Glide, I run the factory tires, and the reason why I do that is because I've got the warranty that covers the tires if anything happens. So I stick with the factory tires, and I've never had a problem with them. I've done tons of rain riding, traveling with that. I hate the wheel. But the Pan American, I'm not happy with those tires. I don't think they're great, but they put them on the.
That's on the Pan America.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bronco Ride was saying about the tires too. Yeah.
So in the rain, I've been running that rainbow, but I still find that the back wheel wants to slide. Right? So I'm not happy with those ones, but I don't want to change a brand new set of tires. So I'm kind of wait until the spring, maybe late spring before I keep them. But I don't think they're great for the sold. I'm not happy with it.
Yeah.
I'll probably be looking for vegetables, maybe some potatoes.
Okay, we've touched on rain. How about high wind?
Oh,
Rich?
Well, high wind. You'll be seeing in a couple of weeks my ride from, or our ride from Orem, Utah to Rock Springs, Wyoming, and we hit winds so bad. Now you hear about. Listen, I'd never ridden out west, and I used to hear about the winds on I-40, and it's crazy out there. It's crazy out west. I mean, you're riding along, tilted like this, just to go straight. And there was one spot I remember on that ride up to Rock Springs. There was beautiful scenery. When we wanted to get off at a rest area, park and take some pictures, we couldn't, because there was no way to park our bikes without them actually getting blown over while they were parked by the wind. That's how hard it was blowing. So it's just something, here's the thing about weather. I call some rides optional. You get up in the morning, oh, I'm going to go for a ride, and then you look outside and it's pouring rain. You say, well, I'll wait until tomorrow. But when you're on a trip and you have a certain amount of time that you have available, and you have to fit everything into that time, you don't have the luxury of saying, well, sometimes maybe you do if you've worked in some weather days into your plan, but generally it's just like, come on, we got to go. We have to do this. And maybe it's not the smartest thing in the world to do. I don't know. But I know that sometimes there's just no other choice for you. Mm-hmm. If you're on a trip, you have to get to where you're going, and you have to deal with the weather. And I can tell you, I was just watching some video from coming back on my trip, and I think I must have been in Nebraska. I'm pretty sure it was Nebraska. I was headed for Lincoln, Nebraska. And out there it's so flat, and you're looking all the way to the horizon, and you can see that weather. You're going to have to deal with that black thunder cloud that's 30 miles out. It's kind of intimidating, but sometimes there are no overpasses to hide under. There's just no place to hide. You have to deal with it. You don't have any choice. And then it's just, you know what? Take your time. I mean, I've been in those. I'm sure we all have. You've been in those rainstorms where you literally can't see the car in front of you, and it's scary as hell. But you don't want to pull over on the side of the road. That's the best way to get killed, right? In a rainstorm, because some guy will come along and not see you. You just have to deal with it, and you have to just kind of tough it out until you come to the next exit or the next overpass where you can get a break. But you still have to make the ride. So I think the biggest thing is just when you get stuck in something like that, in the wind or the rain or anything like that, just take your time, go slow, keep your wits about you, and just be as careful as you can. Sometimes that'll get you through it. A lot of times that'll get you through it. Most times it'll get you through it. Take your time, be careful, use your good judgment. That's all I can say about it. You have to deal with it. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, you have to deal with it. Craig, I would imagine some of the places you ride, there's just no choice.
Yeah, we get a lot of situations like that, and I do a lot of rain riding here. And one of the things that I always do is I stick in right-hand lane closer to the shoulder. But I always ride with my hazards on. It gets real heavy.
Right.
I always put the hazards on. Because the car behind you, the overspray coming up, you don't always see the tail light on the bike. But when you got the hazards going, you see it. So I've been stuck in lots of rides like that. Coming back from Florida in September, when I was coming down the Ocala and Fox Canyon, and it started getting dark, and it's raining so heavy. had to run with the hazard lights on just so the trucks can see. So you stay on the right-hand side, and if they come too close to you, I just duck into the shoulder, and they just, because sometimes they don't even see you.
Right. I've spoken to actually a friend of ours at work. Her and her husband, they went like to Vegas and they rented a Harley down there to go for a ride, and they said like 15 minutes out on the ride, they said the bike was just, it was tilted almost flat. They just turned around, came back. They'd waited months to go on that ride, and they ended up having to cancel and just go back to the room. That was it. Let's go to the casino. Can't do anything else.
Mm.
With the wind,
Yeah.
I used to work in Pitcher Creek in southern Alberta. And Pitcher Creek has some record winds down there. And it's incredible. Like, I saw one of the comments from Kevin. He got to ride sideways during the stern. And
Right.
Pitcher Creek, the Waterton area, they have some of the worst winds. And Rich, you're
Yeah.
right. Sometimes you have no choice. You just got to go with it. You can't fight for it. You just got to go with it.
Dave, did you want to get in?
You know what? I've had two times where, I would say that the wind was really bad. One was going across southern Ontario from where I live, Keswick, over to Grand Bend. And we got into a lot of farm countries, and the wind was so bad, you were actually fighting the wind and having to lean in against the wind. But what was even worse than that, it was in the spring, so the crops weren't there yet. So the sand or the dirt being blown off of these fields, and again, I wear a half helmet. I've just felt like I was getting a facial, just on one side of the face, just the sand or the dirt pelting me. Very uncomfortable, but again, you can't stop. You
That's
you
it.
got to keep going, pushing through it. The other time, which is I in the side chat, I asked Jim from Old Guy on the Bike in Newfoundland, going across the Trans-Canada from Port aux Basques over to St. John's. There's a section of highway, and Jim tells me it's called the Wreck House, where there's actual sign on the highway side of the highway. It says, warning: strong winds can blow over transports. And I was coming across, I was going to St. John's, and I must have been doing, about a little bit over the speed limit, right? I think I was doing 110, 120 kilometers, that is, not miles per hour to our American friends. We're a little bit slower, in that sense. But all of a sudden the wind hit me, and it took me across 3 lanes of traffic into oncoming traffic. It was that strong. It hit me that fast and blew. And luckily there was nobody coming the other way, because then I just backed off and back into my lane. But that was an unbelievable. I couldn't believe how strong that wind was. It just picked the bike up, and I was going. It didn't matter what I was doing. So yeah, Newfoundland's got some pretty amazing country, and so things you really have to watch for, though.
Never mind Newfoundland. Where you been, Kevin? Road covered in frogs.
Oh, I've had that happen.
It's like
up in
there's the locusts and the
up in Halliburton. Yeah, you get a hot summer night, and the frogs all come out onto the pavement to cool off, or is it to warm up? I can't remember. But yeah, I've driven in a car, not on a motorcycle, but in a car on a highway. For anybody in Ontario, Highway 169 for Wabashine, down into Brecken. The road was just covered in frogs.
So a buddy of mine from high school, he went to work for a year at one of the steel plants here in Hamilton. Saved every dime he made, stayed at home, lived with his mom and dad. Took a leave of absence after working for a year, jumped on a plane, went to Australia. And he's riding across the desert, and he just slammed into a sand dune that had blown over the road. And he said it was just like snow blindness. You couldn't see it. And he said, drove right into it. He said, just a big tumble. And he said, when you hit that sand, you stop. You don't roll, you don't slide, you stop dead, like just hard. So you never know what you're going to see out there with the weather doing stuff for you. So, moving on, we got a lot to cover.
Can I just talk? Can I say one other thing about the power of the wind? We were traveling from Idaho Falls to Orem, Utah, and I forget. I think that's I-15 that we were coming down, and we're just making a quick run, and the wind was blowing that day pretty good, but I didn't realize how hard it was blowing until I was headed south on I-15, and coming north, I saw a pickup truck on the other side of the highway. And he was hauling like probably a 20-foot box trailer, like for a landscaper. And he was coming down a hill, and the wind was blowing so hard that it caught his trailer. Obviously, there wasn't anything in it. It lifted I'm watching this. It lifted the whole back of the trailer up off the highway as he's going down the highway about 80 miles an hour. And the trailer is following him in the air like a sail. And it finally lifted up enough where it pulled both rear tires of the pickup truck up off the ground. And I watched this trailer come down, this trailer and this pickup truck come down. The pickup truck was on its two front wheels coming down this hill. And finally the wind caught it and just flipped the whole thing over on its side, over onto the side of the road. I couldn't believe I watched this whole thing.
Yeah.
You talk about being reticent about wind after that. Let me tell you, when you see something like that happen before your eyes, it's like, oh my God, I don't weigh anywhere near what that thing weighs. And it just picked that whole trailer right up off the ground and the rear end of the pickup truck. Amazing.
Yeah.
So did
I have my camera on? I had just shut it off.
Had the lens cap on probably too.
It's always the way it happens.
Yeah. Gee, who would ever leave their lens cap on?
Last summer, this just recent, I think it was June 10th, we went on a 3-day. We went to North Bay and then across to Gananoque and then home. 1 day each. When we were going from North Bay to Gananoque, the wind was so strong, and it was the last big ride for the Goldwing. And that was the day that I decided that I wasn't keeping it. It scared the shit out of me. And I don't scare easy on a bike, I'll tell you that. But it was floating that bike across 2 lanes, and I was fighting it. And the Harley guys were like, no, we didn't notice anything.
Really?
The wind passes through the Harley. It doesn't. The Goldwing was just like a sail, and I had the seat bag on behind me, so that was even more area that went. It scared the hell out of me. I ended up slowing down, and I just told them, just go. I know where you're going. I'll catch up. And they slowed down and made fun of me, and
He said, "That's it. I'm going to own a Harley Davidson now."
Well, that was one of the deciding reasons for it. Yes.
Well, not all Harley Davidsons, because the road glide is excellent in the wind, but the Pan America's like Phoenix. It just gets bounced around.
Yeah, we can't hear you at all, Craig.
Craig, turn your mic up.
Try to
The
turn your
static's
mic
exactly
up even
the
with
same.
the static.
It is up right now.
The other thing you might want to try is just reboot completely and come back in again.
It's up as high as it goes.
Yeah.
Could just be a bad connection. There he goes. All right.
It's perfectly clear now.
I know. Yeah.
That's too bad. He's got a lot of weather info for us. So freezing conditions riding. So we already kind of talked about the heated gear with the rain stuff, but hands down, it's the best way to go for the last couple of months and the first month of the season. For sure it gains me at least three months riding with the wife. I should really clarify that. Once it gets cold without heated gear, she wouldn't get on the bike. So that's that's where it, that's where I enjoy it the most, is if we're together and we're out, and the banter back and forth, and her being able to scan the countryside and point out what I would actually miss riding, staring at the road. So
Yeah.
um
Wayne, watch for Craig coming back in.
yeah, he's not here
I don't
yet.
know which screen you're looking at.
I'm looking at all of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, as far as that for heated gear, for me, it's the way to go. Number two thing about cold weather riding is some type of underlayer that's kind of breathable to keep the moisture off you. And if you do happen to get in a bit of a drizzle of rain when it's cold out, then you gotta think about it, and maybe it's the thing where you gotta pack it in and go dry off. Like it's one of those things that, and wet road in cold weather, it can turn to ice pretty quick, and then you got a big surprise. So
Oh, yeah.
those are the things that I think of when I'm in the cold. Rich?
Well, cold. I mean, when you're on a trip, it's just like anything else. You got to deal with it. I was telling you earlier, Wayne, that when I bought my in 2019, when I bought my Goldwing out in Texas, I flew out, picked it up, and rode it to Phoenix, Arizona. Picked my wife up at the airport, and we went up to tour the 5 national parks up in Utah. And I think it was on the 3rd day. We went up to Bryce Canyon, and when we left the hotel in the morning, it was like about 35 degrees. But so it was morning. So we had really cold weather up in Bryce Canyon in the national park. And when we came down, it warmed up a little bit to like 45 degrees. And we got on the road, and we dealt with all that whole day. We dealt with sleet, rain, and then when we got to this little town, what is it? Boulder, I think, Boulder, Utah. We stopped for lunch. Then we had to go up over the mountain so that we could get over. We were on our way to Capitol Reef National Park, and we had to cross over the through the Dixie State Forest. I didn't realize it, but the top of the mountain was close to 10,000 feet in altitude. And just as we were leaving the restaurant, talk about wind. I was coming out. I had my helmet, and a guy was walking in, and he said, "Where are you headed?" I said, "We're headed to Torrey." He said, "Oh, you're gonna be dealing with it." I said, "Dealing with what?" He says, "There's a storm coming." And just as he said that, literally as he said that, the wind started blowing so hard that when the girls came out, they couldn't even put their helmets on the seats of the bikes. It would have just blown off. When we got on the bikes, we went up over the top, and it started snowing. And I mean, we had 2 inches of snow on the ground. It was 30. The air temperature was 34 degrees. We were so worried that the road was freezing, that it was going to be colder than the air, but it retained some of the heat. We got over it, but my wife was on the back, literally just about crying. It was, I mean, it was scary. You got ice. You don't, your chances are slim to none on a motorcycle. And that was one of those situations, if you've ever been in that area, when we were going up through the park, there was nothing. There was nothing. There were some picnic benches and some camping areas, but we were on motorcycles. I didn't even have heated gear that trip, because it was the end of May. Who thinks about snow? But 2 inches of snow, and when we got through it, we just felt lucky to be alive, honestly. But there wasn't any choice. We couldn't have turned around. There was nothing behind us. We had to keep going. And our best bet was Torrey, And we got lucky. I say we got lucky. So, you know, when it's freezing cold, you really have to be aware of the roads. But even, as I said, sometimes there's just nothing you can do. You got to figure out a way to get through it. And maybe that's the biggest thing in as far as foul weather riding. If you've got some warning, try and get prepared. If you find yourself in the midst of it, use your head, take it slow, and just try and push through. It's lots of times, especially when you're traveling, it's your only choice. You know, you don't have, especially out west. I mean, Craig, you are out west, so you know. I mean, there's nothing. And honestly, until I experienced it, I had no concept of how fast weather can kill you. I mean, literally, just kill you, freeze you, put you down on the ground with your motorcycle, struck by lightning. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. The out west, the weather is not your friend. This is your friend. You got to use your head, you know?
Yeah, Craig, we can't even hear you at all now. Sorry. Yeah, Dave.
Maybe if Craig unplugged his microphone and just used the external mic on his whatever it is, his phone or. I can't hear a word.
Yeah, it's gone out completely. It's getting worse.
We've lost you, Craig.
Go to the side chat, Craig, if you want. Just type in the side chat for stuff.
Sorry, Craig. I really wanted to hear all the stuff
go.
you had to say.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't have to go. You could have just typed it instead. But anyway, Dave, next.
You know what? I used to do a lot of driving in Northern Ontario, going up to as far as Timmins, and you know, a couple of times on the bike. There was one time I was in just arriving in Sault Ste. Marie after dinner, and it was snowing, right? And you know, went to the gas station, topped up the tanks, and then rode over to the hotel, parked the bikes. And the next morning, I had an inch of snow sitting on the bike. You know, luckily it was in the spring, so it you know, the snow melted by the time. And that's another thing, you know. And Rich, you've kind of pointed on it. You know, there's the trips where you have to go, you can't stop, you just got to plug the way through it. You know, for us, we woke up in the morning and checked the weather forecast. It was going to get warmer as the morning went on. So we delayed our trip back to Toronto. You know, we didn't leave until almost 11 o'clock. And by that time, again, it warmed up and this melted the snow, and we just had to deal with all the wash. But, just talking about gear, you guys have talked about, just to come back, when we talk about freezing weather and things like that, even if you have heated gear, I think the trick is, being able to regulate your body heat within that gear, whether it's wearing leathers or opening the vents and things like that. Choosing the right helmet. One of these days I'm going to buy myself a full face helmet. I'm not there yet, but certainly in inclement weather like freezing weather and things like that is having the right gear that's going to get you through. And the other thing is knowing when to pull over and have a rest stop. The great thing in Ontario is no matter where you go, you're going to find a Tim Hortons, where you can pull off, go to the washroom, grab yourself a coffee or tea and bite to eat, warm up, allow yourself just to relax and, get all the joints moving again before jumping on your bike and going.
Well, those things take it takes energy. If it's cold out, you burn more energy. You do
Yeah.
need to take a
Yeah,
break.
because you're tense. You get tense.
That's the nice thing about the heated gear, though. You stay more fluid. You're loosey goosey. It's like a July day. You're in there nice and cozy, and it's a warm heat like that. When there's a wood fire and you turn your back to it, and it heats up your back. It's that type of a heat that comes off the, at least my hot wired. That's what I feel.
Yeah, Wayne.
It's really comfortable heat. So, and it's easily controlled. It's got 3 different settings for each: gloves, pants, and jacket. They're all individually controlled. And when you control the pants, you control the foot insoles in your boots.
Yeah,
They
Wayne,
run together.
Wayne, I got to ask you, if you put a quarter in, does it vibrate?
On the heated pants?
Yeah.
Well, I can't tell you on air.
That's almost an answer, Wayne.
It's all good.
Well, you said
There are
loosey-goosey,
certain
right? So I was
places that
wondering.
are not necessarily heated, Dave, if that's where you're going with that.
No, I was just having fun.
All right. Next topic is poor visibility riding. So what do we got? We got fog, we got heavy rain, we got heavy rain with wind. We put them all together and you got major poor visibility shit show is what you got. So
Yeah, well, all those things. I mean, listen, we all know you can't ride if you can't see, right? Nobody closes their eyes to ride a motorcycle. And I think we've all probably been in those kind of, well, as I described, just rain coming down so hard you can't see the vehicle in front of you. Or something that's almost, I consider it worse for me, this is just me, fog. Heavy fog, man, I can't deal with it. I get very disoriented. I was leaving Boone, North Carolina on the way to Georgia, and I hit that kind of fog. I just pulled over. I pulled over and I waited till a car came by, and I followed his lights down the mountain. But if I don't have something like that, I can get very disoriented. I could just ride off the road and not even realize it. So fog for me is like, I hate it. I literally hate fog. It scares the ever-loving bejesus out of me. And as I said, I'll go back to the Pinlock anti-fog system. Top notch. I'll never go anywhere without one in my trunk. Critical.
Rich, can you expand on the Pinlock, exactly what it is?
Yeah, sure. Pinlock's a system. It's basically what it is a shield inside your shield. And it turns a good portion of your shield into like double glazed glass almost. It's sealed around the edge, so no water can get in, and it maintains a constant temperature, so it never fogs up.
Okay.
Just absolutely, and you have to have, just so you know, you have to have a visor, a helmet shield that's equipped for it, and they come with just 2 little nubs on the inside. You take the Pinlock, you put one side in, you kind of straighten it out, put the other side in, and when you let it flex again, the seal becomes very tight with your shield. So it comes in yellow, it comes in clear, it comes in smoke, all the different colors. You have to go on their site and make sure it's matched for your particular shield, but well worth the money if you're planning on riding in any rain and if there's any humidity. I know some people that ride with a Pinlock in their shield all the time, rain or shine.
Yeah.
Okay,
If you watched Tony Reno, Two Wheel for Fun, his last video.
Yeah. He got into the fog.
Yeah, he sees the fog coming across the mountains and it's below him. He's looking over the fog where he is on the height. And actually, I got it right here on video. One moment, please.
By the way, one thing I'm going to mention here about foul weather gear. As motorcyclists, we pay top dollar for everything. My suggestion to folks who are looking for some decent foul weather gear and are not wanting to spend that kind of money, like motorcycle gear sometimes runs. Check sailing gear, check snowmobiling gear, check skiing gear. Sometimes you can get what you need from those industries for a lot less than what we pay for motorcycle foul weather gear.
Right. Now, I've
Good
been
point,
to,
Rich.
you're lucky because you're over the border and you can get to cycle gear. They got some awesome rain gear. Might be a little pricey, but they got some real cool stuff that, you couldn't go wrong if you had the money to invest in it.
Yeah.
So here's that video of Tony Reno's Two Wheel for Fun, and you can see the fog. So he's got to get down the mountain, and this is the road he's on, and he's got to get down the mountain before the fog moves in on him and socks him in. So
yeah.
I
find fog. There's not a lot of stuff that intimidates me on a motorcycle, but fog is one of them.
Yeah.
And the scariest thing, and somebody's already mentioned it in the side chat that I was going to say, it's not necessarily us on the road. It's the cars and the trucks, because you'll get some people that just get into that passing lane and they just keep booking it as if it's a clear sunny day.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter. And our four ways, let's face it, our four ways on a bike are not the greatest, for being in a situation of fog and warning traffic coming up on you.
Yeah, if it's that thick, you're best to pull into a motel and have a nap.
Yeah, or Tim Hortons and have a tea.
And
a donut.
See, well, that's the one thing we're not lucky about being across the border is we don't have Tim Hortons. Although I shouldn't say that.
Some states do.
Yeah, New York State, I think there is one, because I think I stopped at was right off the highway. Like at a highway rest area was a Tim Hortons. And I can remember having, now that I think of it, I can remember having a sausage biscuit that was really good.
There you go. I'm planning, tell me what you think. Adam Sandoval made history by visiting every Harley Davidson in the lower 49.
I know it's coming.
I think we should get a group together and we should visit every Tim Hortons in Canada.
Well, you retired guys go right ahead and do that.
Hey, listen,
if I don't have enough time right now to invest in that.
I know it would take us all summer just to do Ontario, right?
It's like trying to visit every Dunkin' Donuts in the United States. Forget it. You can't do it.
Yeah.
By the time you get to the last one, they've already opened 300 more.
Exactly. Yeah.
The only thing I can say finally about poor visibility riding is that we lost 3 riders in my area down here on beautiful sunny summer days, hit from behind.
Oh my goodness.
One was a hit and run in a stolen vehicle that hit him, and there's a GoFundMe page for a reward money to find the guy, and they still haven't found him. And so you're just taking your life in your own hands riding in the fog. That's just not a bright idea. And
yep, I agree 100%.
If you can get off the road and get somewhere quick, that's probably your best bet. So
I was out the other day without any, it was 35 degrees. I was out without any heated gear, and it was okay. I just recently purchased a pair of leather overpants. And I've never had any leather overpants or had leather pants, anything. And I was really kind of impressed with the job that they did. They really cut the wind, and they gave me some pretty good insulation, honestly. I was
Mhm.
very surprised.
That's one of the reasons I always carry my rain gear with me. If I get out if I get caught on a ride where it turns really chilly, I'll just pull my rain pants on,
Yeah.
just to give me that extra barrier against the wind.
Yeah. A lot of
Patrick, I got-
times I'll carry Linda's heated jacket in the saddlebag for like if we're going to be out past dark, just in case if it turns a little bit cool, I can throw it on her and plug her
Listen,
in.
just what Dave was talking about made me think of something because I got caught in one of those. We call them here in the Northeast frog choking rain. You know, it just poured, and I was soaked. And I stopped for lunch with the guy that I was riding with. And you know how when it comes on fast, you don't have a chance to get your gear on, you don't want to pull over. You say, "Well, I've only got 15 minutes to get to the restaurant." And by the time you get there, you're soaked, and then you walk in, and it's air conditioned, and you're freezing, your teeth are chattering.
It's just like getting out of the pool.
Exactly. Now, here's something, just a tip. When you go back out in the rain, don't put your rain gear on over your wet gear. Put it on underneath. Let your jacket be soaked. Put the rain gear on underneath. It'll protect you from the cold. It'll keep your heat in. It'll keep the wet out, and you'll warm up, which you're going to need.
Mhm.
So, because a lot of people will once they get wet, they'll put their rain gear on over the wet clothes. Yeah. It's not doing you any good. Well, it's doing you some good, but not as much good as putting it on underneath. Just a tip.
So I bought Linda this. I bought it at Royal Distributing. This pink, fluorescent pink, beautiful jacket, and it said, waterproof, big tag on it. So it was almost like it was around $200, I think, close to $200. I think I paid for it, and we rode to New Hampshire with it, and she made me stop at Syracuse. She said she wanted to stop. So we stopped. We stayed over, got up in the morning. And I told her when we stopped, if we stop now, you're going to get wet tomorrow. She was like, that's fine. So we get out on there and got her brand new pink jacket on. And we're flying down the interstate heading for Albany. And it leaked. And it was raining. It rained all day. It rained solid. And it leaked. And she was soaking wet. And she was back there, zip, never said a word, not a peep out of her. I kept, are you okay? Intercom, you all right? Yeah. We got to our friend's house in Plainsfield, New Hampshire, pull in, get off the bike, and I said to our friend's wife, I said, Kimberly, I said, how long has it been raining here? She said about an hour. So if we'd have left like an hour and a half sooner, we would have never gotten wet.
Oh, no
but
kidding.
The thing was, she never said a word the whole way there. And I said to her, why didn't you tell me? I could have stopped. She said, well, what are you going to do? I said, I'd have pulled into the first TSC store and bought you some froggers or a rain suit. You could have gone in the change room. We got all your luggage in the trailer. You could have got out in a fresh set of everything and gone into the change room, changed into dry clothes, and been happy as a lark the rest of the trip. Why wouldn't you tell me? It was like, you just made this bad experience worse. And, so she knows now to let me know when there's discomfort. But she was a trooper. She never said a word. She thought that it was more important that we just got there. And
there you go.
We could have
That's
stopped.
what you need. That's what you need riding pillion as a trooper.
Comforted back there, and everything would have been fine. But So yeah. So when to say enough is enough, and when to end the ride. That was our final topic. So yeah. When do you call it, Rich?
Well, if you're in a dangerous situation and you can afford to get out of it, whatever that is, a $300 a night hotel or I'm going to take an extra day, I won't be back for work, whatever it is, do it. Your life is not worth those extra 200-300 miles that you're going to make.
Yeah.
If on the other hand, you can't do that, you can't pull over, you're out in the middle of nowhere, you really don't have any choice. And I'll just say it again. be careful, take it slow, keep your head about you. Try and a lot of times out there you can't even get weather radar to know what's in front of you or what's coming. So you just really kind of have to be very careful, take it slow, and tough it out. You don't have a choice. You can't listen. You can't stand there and cry, right? You're just going to get wet or snowy or cold, or that's not going to change. Your bike is going to be fine if you take it slow. That's the main thing. Just take it slow. Keep your head about you. That's all I can say. I mean, when you're in those situations, if you could pull over, if it's dangerous, absolutely do it. Absolutely. If you can't, just be careful.
So better to stay on an interstate and ride where everybody's going the same direction in those lanes, or service road or smaller road? What do you think?
Well, I really do. I think it depends on the weather situation. If it's one of those situations where you can't see the guy in front of you, then you got to know the guy behind you can't see you. Get off the interstate. Get off the interstate. Or stay on the interstate and pull over. That's what I did coming back when I hit that rain. I had to keep going because there was nothing. The first exit I got off at was, or I got off at the first exit. I found a Wendy's. I went in there and I had a hot cup of coffee, and I got my wits about me, and I said, okay, this is a really bad situation. I really don't want to ride in that. What am I going to do? First thing I did was I sat down and I checked the weather radar, and I could see that in front of me there was 57 miles of rain in front of me, and then after that I had blue skies. So I waited a while. I warmed up. I geared up properly because I hadn't been. Then I got back on the road and I just took it easy. And sure enough, 57 miles later, I was in blue skies.
Yeah.
So I think it really depends on the weather situation.
When do you call it, Dave?
You know what? I guess there's a couple of different ways we can approach it. One of them is, if you're just out for a ride for the day, can you delay your ride to let the weather go by if you're watching the radar? The other one is if you're just out riding for a day, or even if you're going away for the weekend, is knowing your destination and knowing the different routes to get to the destination. For me, if I want to get to, let's say, Perth, Ontario, I can go straight horizontally across the province. I can go into Northern Ontario and big loop back down into Perth, or I can take the southern route up. So, by knowing the different routes to get to your destination, if you have one, and knowing the roads and looking at, as Rich said, checking the weather forecast, if the rain's going to be to the north end of us, I'm still going to enjoy my ride. I'm just going to go south, where it's technically not going to be there. I
find in the rain with radar and just looking at the clouds, you can kind of find your way through. You can thread the needle sometimes, and especially on those runs like going down to New Hampshire and that, it seemed like the weather seems to parallel you from here. Those rainstorms that come by me here in Jarvis maybe go on the other side of the Lake Erie on the US side. They'll go right up through Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine. They seem to just channel right up through there to the eastern provinces. And so to jog over through New York State and go across there, you can kind of get between the clouds and plan your day. And, maybe you got to take a break for 45 minutes to an hour and allow that cloud to move a little bit and open that channel for you to get through on the highway that you've chosen. And we out here riding along the lake, we run into like weather quite often, and we can ride around it. The clouds aren't that big. They're kind of broken up from coming over the lake. Yeah. We seem to be able to find our way around and get there by just doing a little looking around and planning a bit, we can enhance the ride and keep us away from the bad weather.
Yeah.
So, carry
Yeah.
on, Dave.
But I'm just, I'm just gonna, agree with what Rich was saying. If you're on a long coast to coast ride, if you have to power through, then ride your ride based on the conditions of everything around. Right, stay calm, and know when to get off the highway. And you know what, it's I hear goods and bads about stopping underneath an overpass where tractor trailers coming along have the wind or them riding the white line have actually been a negative for bikers that have parked under the underpass, right? I don't have a good answer for that, right? But always be careful and mindful of your surroundings, and you know what, know when to call the ride, and get to that next stop, pull off, rest, check your technologies before you make the decision to. I'd rather spend the whole night in a Tim Hortons, drinking tea and eating donuts.
Nothing wrong with grabbing a motel room and
Yep.
grabbing some beer and sitting back and watching.
Yep.
Some,
Yeah, if there's one available,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I've sat in a restaurant driving in Northern Ontario where the snow has closed the highways all around me. And I'm sitting in there with another group of people and you have a little social party going on for the whole night, waiting for the snowplows to come through.
Yeah, especially if you've got a group like it, you're pretty well taking your party with you, like wherever you go. I mean, you get caught somewhere, like in my group, some of them may have to be back for their jobs. It's not an option that weather would hold them back. So in those cases, there have been times where people have decided, hey, we're going to take an extra night and we're going to stay here, and others have carried on. The one thing I won't do, though, is I won't let one of them go alone.
Mm-hmm.
If they're going, if I have to, I'll go with them, just so they got somebody. So it's, there's somebody there, there's somebody watching out for them, and vice versa as well. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I think the best decision is just to call it when you need to call it. Don't be thinking about it for too long.
Well, I'm going to pick up on something you said, Wayne, about the checking the radar. I mean, we're so lucky these days to have a tool like that for our riding. I mean, back in the day, it was like you go out there, it'd be raining. Okay, well, we're going on. This is the only weekend we have to do the trip. You'd leave. And since you didn't have any particular destination, you're just riding for 3 days, then it would be constantly looking at the sky. Mm-hmm. There's blue over there. Let's head that way because there's black over that way. And, that's just the way you would do it. Thank goodness we have the tool of real-time weather radar now, where you can actually see, if I sit here an extra 2 hours, this is going to be by me. I'm going to be following it, mm-hmm. rather than trying to outrun it. And it's really an invaluable tool now. I think every motorcyclist on the road, if you're out there riding any kind of distance, really should have that. I know that when I was coming back, when I bought my Gold, I was coming back from Phoenix, I wanted to spend an extra couple of days, but I could see on the weather that there was a front coming down from Washington. It was going to dip all the way down, and it was going to be terrible weather following me or raining on me if I left an extra day, a day or two later, which is what I wanted to do. I just got out of there and I outran it. And thank goodness I did, because that weather system that I was trying to stay ahead of, actually, I stayed in a town called Fort Smith, Arkansas. And 2 days after I left there, it was flooded. Completely underwater. So you have to be prudent about that thing. Use all the tools that you have at your disposal. And if you can plan around it, do it.
Yeah. Okay, I think we beat this horse to death. Rich, I want to thank you for coming out and helping.
Oh, anytime.
Yeah, Rich, thanks.
I have
Greg?
a blast when I do this. The one thing that I do want to say is to all you folks in the side chat, I couldn't get it up on my phone here. So if you've said anything to me, I'm not ignoring you. I just didn't see it. I'm sorry.
Okay. Craig, thanks for coming on. Sorry that the microphone issue got to us, but your input until it crapped out completely was
Yeah, you started off
invaluable
strong.
to us. And Dave, next week, your house.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
haven't.
the thing is, just to let everybody know, I think Kevin's internet's going to be crappy for the next little while. I think there's some work going on up that way, and it's affecting him being able to have a good signal. So it'll be back and forth between Dave and I, and we'll keep some extras on just in case. We'll have to make Rich an honorary Canadian guy for.
Happy to do it. Listen, anytime you guys need me, just let me know if I'm available. I'm happy to do this. I love shooting the breeze with the Canadian guys.
And Craig, get your microphone fixed so we can have you back on again. That'd be
Rich,
awesome.
Rich will send you a Tim Hortons cup. You hold that up, and everybody will think you're Canadian.
You got it, man. Thank you very much. Hey, listen, I lived in Canada. I'm half Canadian.
Hey,
Very good.
I lived in Saskatchewan,
Yeah.
Alberta. Is that Alberta, right?
No,
No.
Saskatchewan is a
Saskatchewan.
province unto its own.
Oh well,
Yeah.
maybe I lived in Alberta. I was only in second grade, so I kind of forget. But I know we went to the Calgary Stampede. Isn't that Alberta?
Yeah. In
Okay.
Calgary, Alberta, yes.
Calgary, Alberta. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chuck
Yeah.
wagon races.
So send that Tim Horton cup. I'll be using it.
There-
I'll bring you one next summer.
I think
Good enough. That's
A24,
good enough.
A24, man. We're coming.
Rich, PM me and with your address. I'll send you one.
No, that's okay.
Before
I'll
we
just-
go, I got
I'll just
one
rinse.
more
I'll
thing.
just rinse the one out that I buy. You
One
know?
more thing. one more thing.
Wayne's gonna bring me one, and if he doesn't, I'll just ride to New York and buy my own.
There you go.
One more thing, serious note. I don't know whether anybody's noticed, but we haven't seen Dead Knot for a few weeks here. Reason being, he's in BC. Craig, if you're listening, Dead Knot's in BC. Grandpa passed away. Dad had a heart attack.
Oh my goodness.
Robbie's looking after the farm for the winter, so he's out there, and something about only communication out is satellite phone, so he's pretty well shut down. You send him a message on Messenger, it takes a few hours for a reply. So just wanted to say that we're all thinking about him and we miss him here, and make sure you get back in the spring and we get things rolling again. Hope
Everybody say a prayer for all those folks out in BC. It's awful what happened. And, you know, I knew nothing about it down here in the States until I saw it on YouTube. Just horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
All right. So that's a wrap. Everybody in the side chat, thanks for coming out. Lots of new guests. Thank you very much for showing up. One of them actually subscribed to me while we were doing this. So.
Cool. Very cool. Hey, one thing. If you haven't seen the 10,000 Mile Miracle, go to my channel, Have Moto Will Travel. I think there's 28 of them up there already. You can go and binge if you've got a mind to. And I appreciate every view and every subscriber. Thank you, guys.
Scenery that you have never seen up here in Canada.
I'm sorry?
I said scenery for those people that have never been to the States and seen what's down there.
Yeah, just some beautiful stuff.
To mountains to rivers and forests and just awesome and beautiful country down there, and just can't wait to get down and see it myself. So Rich,
Can't wait to
again,
have you
thank
guys come visit.
Dave, thank you. And that's a wrap. We'll see you next week at Dave's house.
Over and out.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Be safe.
Bye.
Bye-bye.